The supplies you're going to need is a paint palette just to hold your paints. I use the Stay Wet. It opens up. It has a sponge underneath that keeps the paints wet and this little kind of piece of parchment paper on top. It is a little bit dirty. I have finished some paintings, so don't judge me. But if anything, it'll be linked into the Amazon storefront. And then you're going to need canvas or paper. I'm using the Strathmore 98 pound. It's mixed media. I'll link that as well. Some paint brushes of different sizes, napkin, and a jar of water with clean paintbrushes, clean water inside. So before you buy a brush, you should probably know what they're useful for and how to load them. Once you take a brush out of water, you use your napkin to wipe off the excess water. You can always tell if it's a little bit too much, especially on this brush here because it's a fine line, because there's a bubble of water on the side. So I'm just going to use that to wipe off the excess moisture because we don't want watery paint. We want a good consistency. The color we're using today is phthalo blue, and the way you load your brush is to just use a back and forth motion. You want to be really careful not to stipple if it's not a stippling brush because it will damage the brush hairs and leave your brush a little bit crooked. So this fine line detail brush is really good for signing and super fine details. It's got a really skinny tip, so it gets really in there when you're painting. The next brush we're using is the round blender brush. I know I have it backwards there. Please don't judge me, but it's the round blender brush. And this brush is really interesting because you can use it for all sorts of things. You can use it for blending, you can use it for dry brushing, and you can use it for stippling. I use it for stippling, especially when it comes to bushes or any kind of landscape, really, even with trees. It does a good job with that. Dry brushing is another thing, but it's really, really good for stippling, I find. The next brush is just a round brush, the one without a tip. This round brush is very good for even strokes. It holds a lot of water and it's really nice. I personally don't use this brush that often. I just think it provides such a smooth blend, and I'm more of a choppy person. The next brush that we have up is the angular brush, and just as its name, it is on an angle. It allows the brush to work well flat. So if you're using the width part of it, the wide part, it's really, really nice. As you can see, I'm just making some quick strokes. But if you want to use the angular part, the sharp tip, makes super nice fine lines. I use this one frequently. Now we're on to the bread and butter. It's Mr. Still Your Girl, the flat brush. Coverage is no problem with this guy. Sharp lines are a breeze. And if you're looking for a stylish blend, which I always am, it has you covered. It's really nice. You can see I can make a little building here just from the even strokes. Or if you're just trying to put color on paper, this is the guy you want. Now we have the Filbert brush. This brush has round edges. The one I'm holding right now has been through some things, but I'm gonna show you the little one that I have at this moment. It's good for making petals. A lot of face painters I find use this brush. You can do all kinds of things with it. And the one that I'm about to show you, I use for texture because it's gone through some things. It's had a hard life, and texture is all it's good for at this moment. So if you have a brush that's damaged, remember that texture is always a great thing. Don't throw your brush out. Now we have a fan brush, which is once again a texture brush. This brush I really like if you want to get some water strokes, or if you flip it upside down and want to do grass, or if you're doing like a birch tree and you want to get that texture on there, this brush is the go-to for that. Even though I don't use it very often because I'm usually painting portraits, I do kind of use it for just the background work of the portraits if someone wants a landscapey kind of feel or if they want kind of water. But nowadays I find that people mostly want either a solid background or something else. The final item that we're using is a palette knife. This comes in different sizes, different widths, different everything. I have this little diamond shaped sharp one. Now, once again, I use this for texture, but I use it for when I am finished a painting kind of deal and I want that extra oomph. In my latest painting of a wedding dress, I used white and I just used the side of the palette knife to give it that extra texture so that when you go and actually look at it, you can see this little oomph part. But yeah, these are the brushes that I use most commonly. The flat brush, especially in various sizes, the angulars in various sizes, the line brushes, the filberts, and the fans when I do some landscape.